Hello, what's up? It's Jay. I just wanted to warn you guys ahead of time. We mentioned this a little late in the show, so I wanted to kick things off by saying there's some stuff in here that may be upsetting to some people. This is a book that kind of revolves around child abuse, some kind of ritualistic creepy stuff, sexual menace, and a lot of scatological horror. So if any of that is the type of stuff that upsets you, especially in combination, you should probably skip this one. Otherwise, stick around and enjoy the show. 2, 1, 2, 3.
There are books that are good, there are books that are bad. There's some books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all, 'cause a novel can ruin your life. Hey buddy, I don't even own a television.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to I Don't Even Own a Television. This is a podcast about books that are not so good. This is an episode that was supposed to come out last week. I completely borked it and lost a hard drive, and all the files disappeared. So we're redoing this book. So that if we sound maybe exceptionally well rehearsed, it's because it's our second time through, and not because we were doing table readings. So yeah, I guess it's probably a good time, rather than keeping them quiet for any longer, to introduce my guest. His name is Poncho Martinez. He is a disgruntled ex-comedian and writer and personality from around the internet. And hello there.
Hello there.
How are you doing?
I am filthy right now. I think we're cursed. I think this book has cursed us. The files filled in the last one. I woke up today. There was no hot water. I couldn't bathe. Tried to get home. Train failed. Couldn't get home. Had to walk through the heat. I smell like a dirty t-shirt.
Awesome. I imagine that's exactly what Satan wants.
Yeah.
So the book we're talking about is called Michelle Remembers. I think maybe some of our older listeners will recognize it by name. I think a lot of our younger listeners won't, and even people who aren't so young, because I had no idea it existed till you told me about it. I will say this is the first time that anyone has suggested a book for the podcast that I've read that has made me angry at them. So, fuck you.
Fuck you.
But, however, I learned a ton about the satanic occult mysteries that lurk in suburbia everywhere.
I really thought you were going to say panic there.
No, not yet. I mean,
Okay.
We got to say satanic panic a few times because it rhymes and it's cool. But I wasn't there yet. But yeah, so anyway, you came to me with this book, and since you did, I think it's up to you to provide the audience with a description of exactly what it is. So if you could kind of give us a brief synopsis / I don't know, overarching description of what we're talking about here. I think people need to understand what Michelle Remembers exactly is.
Well, first, I think I'm going to just do the reading of the back cover again before I give the larger context, because this is some amazing copy on the back.
Again? What do you mean? This is the first time we've ever talked about this book. Oh, wait, I already blew that one. So.
All right. He's hurting me all over. His eyes are scaring me. They look crazy. Where's my mommy? But it was her mommy, a disturbed, peculiar woman who had yielded up 5-year-old Michelle Smith to a cult of devil worshippers for the Feast of the Beast. And in that dreadful 3-month ritual, innocent little Michelle was tortured, imprisoned, and used most evilly as an instrument to raise Satan himself. And they did raise him. And only a divine intervention saved Michelle from the supreme terror. 22 years later, a troubled woman begins to visit a gentle, compassionate psychiatrist. And finally, the long-buried memory of childhood agony comes screaming forth with terrifying clarity. The stuff of fiction? Perhaps. But it all really happened to Michelle Smith. And, at last, Michelle remembers. Fascinating! A page-turner, Flora, but a Schreiber, author of Sybil.
Author of Sybil. That's a great person to get a slug by, I think. And so just to kind of elaborate in case you didn't notice, this book is about satanic cults, Not so much.
And it presents itself as nonfiction.
Yes, it's not supposed to be a Stephen King novel or any of the sort. It's supposed to be straight up document of something that happened, and it is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever read.
And it is ostensibly taken like directly from the transcripts of their therapy sessions, but inexplicably written in the third person.
Yeah, and most of that I think is because the co-author here, not Michelle herself, but Dr. Lawrence Pazder, loves himself to a degree that's almost impossible to describe.
Well, that's hard to say because this book is co-written by Michelle Smith and Lawrence Pazder, MD, which is, of course, doctor and patient. But they did get married after the publication of this book. So maybe they're just, jacking each other off under the table.
I don't know, though, because there's very few sentences about, how beautiful Michelle is. I mean, there's a couple. But anytime the doctor here is mentioned, he's mentioned sort of like a Robert Langdon kind of character, a Dan Brown hero. I'm trying to find a marked passage here because I had a really good one.
It's the bottom of the first page of chapter 1.
Oh, okay, yeah, why don't you hit it?
A handsome man in his early 40s, Dr. Pazder was warm, manly, soft-spoken. What people who live elsewhere consider the typical Westerner. He was lithe and athletic, a tennis player and skier, and had earned a brown belt in judo. His hair was brown, beginning to turn silver.
That's everything you need to know in a case study about a psychological happening, I think.
Yeah.
I know that's definitely the first piece of information that I look for when I open a book about, someone's psychic journey through their remembrance of occult abuse.
Actually, when I was looking for my own therapist on ZocDoc, those were the criteria I was specifically searching for.
Yes, I'm also a big fan of the fact that he was in therapy with her for about 4 or 5 years, I guess, before these memories started to surface suddenly in real life. And there kind of seems to be throughout the book the allusions to their relationship, and it's really creepy.
Yeah, especially considering that at the beginning of all this, both Michelle and Dr. Lawrence Pazder, MD, were married to other people.
Yeah, and as you pointed out prior in our last recording, since we're going to go ahead and acknowledge this, there are towards the book these kind of threads that never get picked back up that are mostly just about how their relationships are suffering and how their spouses are kind of assholes to them and stuff.
Yeah.
And it does seem like it was something that was like hastily written in after the fact so that like people wouldn't be like, man, that's fucking weird that they immediately got married after this book came out.
Yeah, of course, that aspect is not mentioned whatsoever in the book itself.
No, of course, not at all. I mean, what is mentioned in the book itself, for the most part, is a collage of scenes from horror movies I've seen that were made in the 1970s.
Yeah, just a mishmash kaleidoscopic nightmare of slasher shit.
Yeah, slasher shit and like bad possession films. There's straight up exorcist jacking in this to the point where a character
head spins around.
Yeah, head spins around and then she vomits. And holy shit, I just realized something. Let's go ahead and warn everybody right now, which I should have done up top. Trigger warning. I don't think it would be a good suggestion for you to listen much farther in this podcast if you're the type of person who is upset or has bad associations with things like child abuse, scatological type stuff, and in some ways straight up sexual menace. I don't believe there's actual rape that occurs in this book, but it's close enough that I think if any of these are issues that push your buttons, it's probably a good episode to skip.
It's just awful. I had this book and I knew the only way I would ever read it was if I convinced somebody else to go down with me. So I just brought Jay down the rabbit hole into hell, and I'm sorry to him and to you for subjecting you all to this just fucking nightmare.
Yeah. It was a fucking nightmare, and not in the scary sense, in the sense of just like so poorly written and so hard to believe, and trying so hard to come across as like this is the truth when it's such obvious bullshit. There's like scenes supposedly this ritual supposedly lasts for 81 days. And the child in question, Michelle, is basically given away to this cult priestess who abducts her and keeps her in one room for 81 days while an endless procession of hooded people come in and out of whatever building this is. And supposedly this happens in Victoria, Canada, BC. And I should point out this is supposed to be the
1950s, like 1954, 1955.
Yeah. And nobody notices. So
I do love, though, that there are the mentions of, like, just to reinforce the stereotypes of everybody thinking Canada's so pleasant, is it? Nobody's like, this couldn't have happened. Everybody's just like, this couldn't have happened in Victoria, Canada. Those are the only objections raised in the book. It's just Victoria is too nice.
Yeah. Actually, the book I think we both have it says illustrated with photographs, but they're not photographs of anything from the book, except for one ridiculous one we'll describe here in a second. But my favorite is that the first one is just a picture of Florence, and it says, above the picturesque waterfront of Victoria, British Columbia, with the Empress Hotel at left. Below, Parliament Building. And then, just randomly, experts believe that Victoria and Geneva, Switzerland are the two official centers of the Church of Satan. So, yeah.
Cite your sources, motherfucker.
As far as I know, I've never heard that, but hey, what do I know? I am not Victorian, British Columbian.
Yeah. And now that we've established how incredibly stupid and implausible and just terribly written all around this book is, it is important to reiterate that this book was extremely culturally influential and taken seriously for a long time.
Yeah, that's where I was actually hoping to go right now, so thank you for the wonderful segue. This book is kind
ruins lives.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of this was the flashpoint of the Satanic Panic of the 1980s. I think most people old enough to remember definitely can recall a time when parents were super scared of like Dungeons and Dragons and backwards messages and rock albums and things that were going to secretly turn their kids into Satanists, and then they'd join one of the many cults lurking within their suburban facade. I don't know.
Yeah, I posted a picture of this book on my Instagram when I started reading it for the podcast, and an older guy who follows me just commented, "This book has ruined so many lives."
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a good comparison that you made in the past was a chick tract. I had a chick tract about satanic cults, and a lot of the stuff, the ritual that's described, it seems to be directly lifted from it. At least the costumes. And I did do a little bit of research about the closest thing to anything I can find about this. The OTO, the Ordo Temporal Orientalis, I believe. I forget. I wish I had it in front of me because now I sound like a dope. But that was Aleister Crowley's thing, or maybe Anton LaVey's thing. Maybe I shouldn't have brought this up so much. But either way, the research I did is that most of their costumes and rituals and stuff are pretty close to what we're talking about here in the book, but they all look really silly when you see them in real life. And I think have been, at this point, kind of thoroughly relegated to anybody who's even involved in the Church of Satan as it stands will tell you that they don't do things like that. And I believe them.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about, it's more of just a day-to-day spiritual thing where you turn to Satan for strength.
Actually, Satanists don't believe in Satan as a powerful being.
Well, fuck them, I do.
If you'd like to know more, please look it up on the internet. I'd highly recommend it. Do what that will shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will, I believe is the slogan. And I think it's a great companion philosophy to objectivism and Ayn Rand. So if you really want to piss off the world by being into two obnoxious things at once, jump right into that.
Ugh.
Yeah, but like you were saying, I know that's kind of something that brought you to the book here was that cultural influence, and I'm curious how much of that you actually remember in your life.
Well, I mean, here's what brought me to it. I mean, I'm a huge nerd. My brother's a huge nerd. My brother and I played Dungeons and Dragons as kids, and I remember the implication that this thing that involved us sitting at a table and rolling dice and drinking soda was somehow of the devil. And just remembering that years later, I went looking for why the hell anyone would think that, and all that, going down that wormhole of Wikipedia led me to this book, which seemed to be the thing that prompted everybody to freak out that the devil is real and 1980s pop culture is going to bring him to the fore once again to end the world.
Yeah, I'm reading another book right now for a future episode that came out around the same time, I want to say maybe a couple years earlier, called Backwards Masking Unmasked, the story of rock and roll satanic history or something. And it's definitely like right along the same lines of like where you can tell this was an era where people were just convinced that like lurking around every corner was something that would lure their children to the dark side.
I mean, I do love Satan now, but it's for totally separate reasons.
Yeah, me too, but mostly ironically.
Yeah, it's mainly just contrarian hipster shit.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you, Mom and Dad. But anyway, I think this is probably a good point for us to take a break here. So if you will just hang on for a few seconds, we will return with more enthralling discussion of this completely nonfiction book.
Thematically related theme song. Go.
And we're back to I Don't Even Own a Television / I Don't Even Own a Podcast, which I think I've now called it like 6 times. And here we are with Mr. Poncho Martinez.
The second title is true for me so far.
Well, eventually you'll have one. Everyone does.
Yeah.
It's at this point, they're going to be assigned at birth. And they'll pick topics for you too, so you better pray that you don't get like celebrity flatware. I
do need new utensils.
Yeah,
and they probably have better taste than me in that regard.
I think the Martha Stewart collection is particularly classy. I know we have a few of those. Just in case you were wondering what my house is all about, once again, now you know. I wanted to point out that when we decided to read this book, I just imagined it would be on Kindle like everything is on Kindle. And this book is not on Kindle, so I ended up having to rush order it at the last minute and read it all in one day, which by the end of the day, I felt like my head was going to explode.
Yeah. America is so ashamed of having been influenced by this book. It is such a shitty, stupid part of our national memory that we have forgotten it much more thoroughly than things we should be much more ashamed of, like slavery. Because
wow. But
it's, it's recent enough to be in our lifetimes. We were like, well, shit, we did that. Let's eliminate all evidence remaining in the cloud.
Yeah, it does. It's weird how little information there is about it on the internet from sites other than websites that are dedicated to either like, extremist kind of, I believe in occult shit type stuff, and like people who love to debunk, those sites that are all like, oh, look what I proved isn't true. Like, this guy can't really bend spoons. Like, they like to talk about that a lot too.
Yeah, and despite how little evidence there is for it now, back in the day, like hundreds of people were arrested on investigations relating to the bullshit in this book, where they'd ask a 4-year-old, like, hey, did Satan touch you through your dad? And they'd be like, yeah, what? I'm 4. Okay, to jail with you.
Yeah. It was a very real and weird thing going on. But one of the things I did want to emphasize, though, is the advantage of a real book versus a Kindle, which is something we've discussed on the show before, which is that you can scare the fuck out of people by what you're reading in public. And the cover of this book is a great one for that. I know we have two different covers. Mine shows a little girl surrounded by candles with the devil behind her, and it's really creepy looking. And when I was reading it on the bus, I was kind of enjoying the strange looks I was getting. So
What's funny is, no, mine has that as the first page inside the cover, and the cover is just a close-up on Michelle's face with a window cut out of her forehead to look in on the image of your cover right at Michelle's face. So you see a grown woman with a golden door on her forehead with a scared little girl looking out, and you open it up, and there's the devil and candles and black robes and shit.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out too that the cover of mine, I don't know if the cover of yours actually says this, but the blurb at the top here is the shocking true story of the ultimate evil, a child's possession by the devil. But she does not ever get possessed by the devil, does she? Like, she gets harassed by the devil quite frequently, but yeah. I don't know that there's any actual possession. There goes the bulldog. That clicking you hear is the sound of bulldog claws on wood floor.
Hey there, champ.
Yep, there he goes again. He's just scampering about. I believe we mentioned before, last episode, that he's weird and deformed. So he's really loud when he walks, but it doesn't hurt him. The doctor said he's never going to be a Frisbee champ. So do not worry, guys. But once again, please support your local no-kill animal shelter and adopt a pet. Don't buy a purebred animal like we did.
Yeah, I got my cat from the ASPCA, and she is a beautiful, regal thing and also an awful piece of shit. Hey, but anyway, back to Satan. Satan.
I want to get that out there every time I mention the fact that we have a bulldog. I feel the need to warn people about their crazy health problems, and just I don't know, just adopt a cool dog from the pound. It will probably cost you a lot less in the long run for vet bills and emotional trauma. So anyway, back to Satan.
My book has the blurb: who won the battle of good and evil in the mind and body of an innocent child. Which I think is a bit more accurate.
I think that is, because she isn't possessed by the devil. I would say she's bullied and harassed by the devil quite a bit. And he does wrap his tail around her neck at some point.
Kidnapped and assaulted by the devil, but not possessed.
Yeah.
He possesses her in terms of, she is restrained, and you could argue some kind of ownership in that thing, but not in the standard devil possession way.
But that's not the devil, though. That's a gentleman named Malachi. Who is barely described in this book except to function as a MacGuffin of pure evil. I don't even know if they ever actually describe his physical appearance other than him being tall and dark and scary. And
Malachi seems to serve the purpose of the abusive members. He's just the first one that she remembers and the only one she bothers to come up with a name for. It's never explained how she knows the name, because none of these people ever fucking talk to her except to say, "Renounce God!"
Yeah, and there is a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's very...
And Malachi is if I'm remembering this correctly, is a name for a devout Jewish dude, probably.
Yeah, it's definitely a Jewish name. I think they're probably just getting more to the Old Testament root of it than it being anti-Semitic. I think this book is too stupid to actually be racist in any way, and I kind of subscribe to that. Don't attribute to malice what could easily be attributed to stupidity.
Yeah.
And in this case, I think maybe the doctor was flipping through the Bible and just picked out a book that sounded kind of scary. No Ezekiel's or Zebediah's or whatever.
I mean, plenty of biblical names have lost all their oomph. Nobody's going to be scared by Matthew.
Yeah, or Nimrod.
Yeah.
Nimrod's a good one. You were just talking about them trying to get her to renounce God. And that seems to be, there's one character, the nurse, who apparently is a licensed nurse who also in her free time steals drugs and administers them to abducted children in the name of Satan while she tries to get them to renounce the Lord in the most horror movie way possible. they're described as sitting together in rooms for 8 or 9 hours at a time while this woman reads satanic poetry by the side of her bed and things like that.
Which we will later establish is awful.
Yeah, apparently
we'll get back to that.
Yeah, apparently Satan is an awful poet. But yeah, we'll get back to that in a little bit. But one of my favorite things is that for some reason they love to administer enemas to Michelle and try to get her to poop on things. The first time, if I recall correctly, it's just more of a bait and switch where there's a chamber pot that's yanked out and like, you shit all over the covers. Look at what a horrible person you are. But then I know there was also a part you wanted to describe that kind of gets into their whole crazy-ass tactics of how to make Michelle decide
Renounce
that
God.
Yeah, to decide that God is no good for her.
Yeah, so as part of their ritual, I guess, they need Michelle to renounce God and explicitly defile the cross and the Bible. And so, at another point, Michelle is given an enema, and yet again, there is the bedpan, chamber pot, whatever the fuck, placed beneath her. But at the last moment, like Lucy yanking the football away from Charlie Brown, the bedpan is yanked away and a cross and Bible are shoved in its place. So Michelle just shits all over the Bible inadvertently, and that somehow completes their ritual. Like, yes, we tricked a 5-year-old into pooping.
Which
Satan's gonna come back.
Which to me, I don't see how that would cause really her to renounce her faith in God at all. And I'm not even very religious, but I think like pooping on something that somebody forced me to do would just make me real angry at them. I don't think I'd suddenly be like, you know what, you're right. God is full of shit, and I'm totally down with this Satan thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was kind of weird. There's also something they describe a lot in the book as pointing her, which appears to be 4 or 5 people doing the old light as a feather, stiff as a board trick when you lift someone up due to crazy pressure points under their elbows and stuff. But they like to rotate her in different directions and tell her where she's facing, like north. Then they'd spin her towards another direction and go east. And this would repeat over and over again, and then they'd put her down. And
she would pretend she was a clock during this?
Yeah, that was her way of getting away, was that she was pretending that she was a clock, telling different times. Like,
somehow this was her defense against it being satanic. But I think the defense against this being satanic is that, what the fuck, they're just pointing her.
Can we be honest, too? Like, I think that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like, I want a bunch of people to, like, pick me up and spin me around real fast. And, like, I don't know. Like, sounds like a carnival ride.
Like, of all the things that she is subjected to in this book, that sounds like the most fun by far. Like, I, as a 5-year-old, would probably be thrilled to be lifted up and spun around.
Yeah, I mean, like, 5-year-olds like getting thrown in the air and caught, I believe. I mean, I don't have kids. Maybe that's too late. But I imagine that's still the age when they're trying to flip off of swings as high as humanly possible and shit. So,
yeah, dude, I was doing that till I was, like, 8.
Yeah, like, getting spun around in circles, I think, would kind of be pretty rad, even if the people were wearing, like, strange robes. Yeah, and like, that's another thing I wanted to get into is how silly the Satanist stuff comes across. We kind of mentioned this earlier, but there's a lot of ritual described in detail. Very little of it is menacing in any way. I don't know if what your impression that you got of it was, but for me, it seemed like a lot of kind of high school level play acting.
Yeah, it's like high school level play acting mixed with like jackass pranks.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, jackass pranks. That's a good way to describe it. There's
like, hey, you're eating soup. There's worms in it. Barf now.
Oh my God, there are so many worms and bugs in this book, and they're always hidden in things like open the pantry. Oh shit, it's bugs. Like, fuck. Now you'll renounce God for sure. Like, there's literally a part where her mother, after she abandons her, gives her a present, and she opens the present, and it's a doll. And she's like, oh, wow, my mom got me a doll. And she takes the doll out, and there's maggots and bugs inside the box.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of stuff in here that's gross. There's very little in here that's scary. I kind of got the impression that that Doctor, I keep wanting to pronounce his name backwards and say Padzer instead of Pazder, but I get the impression that Dr. Pazder has some problems with body horror, like maybe he had seen aliens too frequently, something like that. I don't know.
I mean, this is taken, like, we have to wonder, again, given the context of how this was created, how much is Lawrence Pazder and how much is Michelle, because, again, they got married afterwards, and this is co-written between them, ostensibly taken from her transcripts.
Yeah.
So you have to wonder, like, this is so thoroughly debunked and idiotic. What was the motivation that led it to exist in the first place? Like, there's the theory that, of course, these people both divorced their spouses right after the publication of this book and got together. So how much of this is the use of insane violence as some kind of sublimation of repressed sexual desire between these people? Like, they just...
That's a good question. How much do you think the Insane Clown Posse likes this book?
I think they would probably be into it if they were literate enough to finish books, and I don't give them that much credit.
They are Christians, I
am aware of that.
Yeah.
I'm aware that the Dark Carnival was a metaphor.
Which is especially awesome when you go back and re-examine such classics from their catalog as I Stuck Her With My Wang and Beverly Kills 90210.
Which is basically their Old Testament.
Yeah, that's the Old Testament when they were still doing metaphors about how killing Brandon from 90210 has something to do with the rebirth of Christ. But I'm way off topic once again, and man, we're running long, but man, I want to do these segments, so man, let's do What Would They Do?
Sometimes attention's so hard to divine, and others the clear as day. So tell me, what would they do?
Okay, so in What Would They Do? I present you with some characters from this book and give you a conundrum that they're not placed in the story, and you tell me what they would do. The answers are completely relative, but as always, I'm judging you. So,
okay,
let's begin. What would Michelle do with a doll if it weren't filled with bugs or worms? This is tough, right?
Yeah, that's so far out of my wheelhouse of things I can even conceptualize. It's hard to even imagine. I'm gonna say, have just a nice fun time with that doll, and then wait 22 years and say it was filled with bugs.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good one. I'm gonna give you credit for that. Mine was that she would probably never enjoy a doll again and would switch to action figures. So I was thinking, I guess maybe we were just doing it in different timelines. I was thinking of post-occult experience, Michelle, and you were more like pre. And so I think we can both be correct there.
All right.
All right, so let's call it a draw, even though this is completely subjective, and I am not judging except on a personal and deep level.
All right,
so what would Dr. Let me look at the front of the book again. Yes, what would Dr. Pazder do if there were absolutely no such thing as a medical code of ethics?
Probably just fuck Michelle right there on the couch.
That's good. I was going to say exactly what he did in this book. But I think, honestly, yours, I'm going to say I'm wrong and you're right, because I feel like a lot of this got very drawn out in a situation where he obviously just wanted to get his bone on. So
yeah, because what we haven't quite gotten into so far is that there are these weird interjections into the recounting of this nightmare where it's like, back in 1977, Dr. Pazder said, "Hey, Rest your head on my shoulder and I'll hold your hand and you can have my coat and it'll make you feel better. Now keep telling me about Satan.
One of the first weird things like that happens in the book is that in order to make her comfortable, he asks her to lie on the floor and then lies on the floor with her while they're talking. And then within a couple pages, he's mentioning, he's telling her that if she needs contact with someone to keep her rooted in the now, to put her head on his shoulder. And this is all described like this is completely appropriate clinically.
When there's mention of him being like, I gotta maintain my professionalism. That's my internal monologue.
But I want to fuck the shit out of Michelle. So.
But that is implicit.
Yeah,
it's not actually stated in the text. And we're working with the text because this is a serious literature podcast, Jay.
Death of the author, man. In this case, quite literally, right?
Yeah,
he's
Pastor's
gone.
dead. Pastor's dead as fuck.
So he can't really defend anything I have to say about him. So I think he's a creepy...
No, he's down in hell. He's in hell getting torn apart by Satan, who is totally real.
I think he is a creepy and abusive fuck. So, yeah. Or was. I have a big question about this that I want to save for our next... after our next break. But before we do, I want to do one more... segment here. This is a new one that I've actually been holding on to for a while. It works usually the best with fiction books, and I haven't read anything that was fiction on the show for a while. And this is definitely fiction, like it or not. So this is called What Did You Learn? Cool new theme song I'm going to make for that. Okay, so this is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to go round robin here. We're going to each mention one thing that we learned from this book, a takeaway, and just, one after the other. And if you'd like to begin, you can. Or if you would like me to begin, I can.
I learned that what it takes to reinforce people's beliefs, the bar is even lower than I thought. You can have somebody pretending to be 5, screaming incoherently about mommy and the devil for several months and reconstitute it into a pile of shit that has a vague semblance of narrative that is taken from recent, obviously fictional aspects of pop culture, and they will still take it as fact. And like,
wow.
I knew people were, not that sharp in maths, but this has like taken it to a new low of what it takes to, pollute the national consciousness.
Okay, so yeah, my turn. What did I learn? One of the things that I learned from this book is that when you're dealing with the occult, numbers become insanely important until they don't matter at all. So it's important to have 13 people in the room for some rituals, but like some rituals, everyone just kind of crowds in. And then sometimes they light candles in the shape of a pentagram, but sometimes they just light candles around this statue that appears to have a fog machine attached to it. So yeah, I learned, I guess, that there's a lot more flexibility to occultist rituals than I thought. And that surprised me to a great deal. So hit me with one more.
What else did I learn? Satan is a terrible poet.
Yeah, he is. And that is a great takeaway for sure. Because, yeah, he's god-awful at it.
Like, for how much good art Satan has inspired, he himself, terrible.
Yeah, although he is described as very supernatural when they... Oh, and by the way, Satan does appear in this book physically. We're not talking about some kind of like weird manifestation of a spirit or something. Satan fucking shows up and has, horns and a tail and
there's a fucking parade and a speech.
Yeah, and his speech all rhymes, and we're gonna get into this later because I don't want to spoil dramatic readings. But it all rhymes and it's all so bad. So I don't know, but I think for me the last thing I learned is that if you're looking to get rich and end up married in the most fucked up situation possible, all you need to do is manipulate one of your therapy patients for a good 6 or 7 years and then write a bunch of fake bullshit about it. So that's my new life's goal, and I will be continuing to work on that as we go to a break. Poncho.
Great, my therapist is probably going to hear this episode.
Awesome. I'm sure you're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But thanks for being here, and we will be back with you.
She's just a devil woman with evil on her mind. Beware the devil woman, she's gonna get you. She's just a devil woman with evil on her mind. Beware the devil woman, she's gonna get you from behind.
Welcome back to I Don't Even Own a Pot. Psych! Welcome back to I Don't Even Own a Television. Y'all thought I was gonna fuck up again, but I did not fuck up. I'm a consummate professional. And with me today on this professional show is Mr. Poncho Martinez.
I own neither a television or a podcast.
You are doing better than me because both of those are lies for me.
I am so fucking legit.
I've got actually a pretty big television, and I'm kind of proud of it because I'm a dumb dude. Also, believe it or not, in addition to reading books, I like watching movies. Movies are cool. So they're like books you watch.
Huh.
In some cases, they're like exactly books you watch.
I don't know about that, dude.
Like
I don't
Hunger
know.
Games and, all that shit.
Huh? I don't know.
Yeah.
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 Huh.
I don't know.
Huh.
Pretty crazy.
Huh.
I wonder who the genius is who invented that. Okay, so normally we would have done this last segment, but since we've got time to do it now, it's time to do in the style of NPR selected shorts where interesting people read boring things. Except in this case, it might be the other way around. So this is a segment called Dramatic Readings.
Dramatic readings, we're gonna make it sound important. Dramatic readings, yeah, I got some words for you.
Okay, so for dramatic readings, we've each picked out some sections of the book that we're going to read. Usually we just do one apiece, but in this case, I think we have a very valid reason to do two, which we'll explain once we go through the first. I'd like to start this one out, actually, with a dramatic reading of the section, which occurs on page 127. I believe this is months, if not years, into Michelle's regression therapy because all of her sessions seem to last about 8 hours. This is when they've decided what might be going on.
Can I just say, before you get into that I just flipped to page 127, and the first sentence on page 127 is just a fragment that begins with, "Of seeing the kittens cruelly killed, of her mother's betrayal, and, worst of all, of the baby."
Asterisk.
Because
there's a footnote. After much discussion, it became clear to Dr. Pazder and Michelle that live babies weren't used in the ceremonies. They were most likely premature fetuses or stillborn babies, probably stolen from hospitals, thanks to the nurse who had her connection. So, anyway, this is late in the book, late in her therapy, and I think they've kind of figured out what's going on. So bear with me. This is kind of a long one, but I think it's a good one. Dr. Pazder sensed that Michelle was now ready for the one question he had been wanting to ask. Michelle, did they ever call themselves a name? No, not that I remember. Who could they be? I've been thinking about it for some time. They seem more complex than ordinary cults or secret societies. Their rituals are very formal and established. When you stepped out of line and got your mother's dress dirty, they were furious. Nothing really spontaneous is allowed to happen, All that makes me think this group has a long history. You mean they've been together for a while? But who could they be? It's hard to believe that people could carry on like that, right here in Victoria.
Canada.
Yes. The only group I know of like that fits your description are the Satanists. My God, Satanists? Yes. Exactly. I never really quite believed they existed. Well, they do. There's a lot in the psychiatric literature about them. Most people think they're strictly Dark Ages, but the fact is, Satanic cults are a worldwide organization, actually older than the Christian Church, and one of the areas where they're known to be active is the Pacific Northwest. That's really frightening. And that's it for that. I enjoyed that a lot.
Wait a second. Were you reading that verbatim or paraphrasing slightly?
I was reading that verbatim, actually. I think in one point I paraphrased slightly accidentally. Why?
Because we have slightly different texts.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like,
maybe there are multiple editions of this book. If I look at the front, it says this is the third edition.
Let me look at mine and see which edition this is. Yeah. July 1981, First Pocket Books printing.
Yeah, there you go. Mine's the third printing. So
mine says the only group I know about that fits your description is the Church of Satan. My God, you mean like Satanists?
Yeah, no, that's not in mine. But I just looked, and actually mine came out in 1980. So I guess yours is actually the newer version. Huh. So I guess maybe they went back in and revised it to make the dialogue a little less expository. Although, like, pretty much like everything in this book that isn't the pastor relationship weirdness is just kind of like really ham-handed really ham-handed exposition. All right, well, let's get on to you, Poncho. I know that you're a great public reader, as I have seen you perform in New York City at an event called Rebel Girl, which I'm sure we'll discuss a little more later. But I'm very excited to hear you take on your piece of this book.
Okay, so a lot of the book is ostensibly taken directly from the transcripts of the sessions between Pastor and Michelle, and that's why it's so confusing that there would be that many discrepancies between editions if they were supposedly taken directly from the transcripts. But I'm gonna...
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, like, if it's quoting, it shouldn't be that fucking different. But here is, from my edition's page 138... just Michelle's transcript, a transcript of Michelle on the couch recounting.
Before you start, I want to flip to the same page because I want to see if there's a similar discrepancy here, so I'm going to read along with you. So, okay. I'm ready.
Okay, this is going to get ridiculous.
Yeah, just fair warning again, trigger warning. I've heard Poncho do this before. It's pretty disturbing. So, yeah, get ready.
No! 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 The red man! No! He stabbed the baby with it! Not with that, no! Help me! Help me! I didn't mean it that way! I'm not helping anyone! I'm not helping! Oh, the baby! You can't stab the baby anymore, it's just a mess. It's all my fault, it's all my fault. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? They're mad. They're mad at me. They rubbed it all over me. The baby. Oh, God, on my face, my chest. I can't stand it anymore. Oh, God, it's got to be the end. It's got to be. I can't stand it. I wished I was the baby. I wished I was the baby. I don't know what to do. I can't stand thinking of what to do. Oh, please, please, I don't know how to get out. I want to get out. I can't. I wanted this to be the end. It's supposed to be the end. Please talk to me. Please talk to me. Please.
Okay, well, that passage actually was verbatim in mine. However, I did want to point out that began scary and ended up Mr. Bill.
Yep.
So we're about to get into a second batch here of dramatic readings. These are, in my eyes, the good ones. We've alluded earlier to the fact that the devil speaks in rhyme, which is apparently something that is verified in here by two different priests who immediately distanced themselves from this book upon release. One of whom, I took particular interest in because of his name, Remy Leroux, and I looked him up, and there are pictures in here of them having coffee and discussing things with him. His side of the story of his collaboration was that he met them once, had coffee with them, they told him their story, he kind of humored them, asked them to send him more information, and then never heard from him again. Then he appears in the book as someone who supports this whole demonic cult possession type theory. But, yeah, so he's one of the people in this book that, pardon me, that, really presses the idea that the devil speaks in rhyme only. And what I find really interesting about this is that the devil's poetry is horrible. I like to start this out with my favorite section here because I think this is most indicative of the fact that the devil's poetry is written in the cadence of the devil's lyrics in the song "The Devil Went Down to Georgia" by the Charlie Daniels Band, which actually I looked up came out after this book, unfortunately.
Damn it.
I'm kind of bummed. I could be wrong, though, because the date on this book could be, a reprint date or something, so who knows. But anyway, here we go. So just imagine there's a little fiddle solo. Barrel, barrel, barrel. Okay, here we go. No wise could see what this book said. What's written in the book is dead. No wise could see, not even a friend. The books are mine. In the end, you can write all day, you can write all night, but writing won't bring the light. I'll burn it out. I'll make it black. I'll turn your words from front to back. I'll burn each page. I'll eat each word and spit it out, never to be heard. The fire will grow. Their eyes will see. Their book of words can't stand up to me. When they grow old, they'll know and tell. The only power comes from hell. Fire, fire, burning bright. Divide the world with my light. The fire spreads, it rips apart. Join hands, it's the counterpart. A fire's fed, a fire's led. I'm the best damn son of a bitch or something. I don't know. There was a Charlie Daniels thing at the end there that I'm the best damn son of a bitch there's ever been, right? I told you once, you son of a bitch, I'm the best there's ever been. Okay, now you don't need to email me, people. But yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. The Devil Went Down to Georgia is one of my favorite karaoke songs because people love to sing along with I told you once, you son of a bitch, I'm the best that's ever been. But yeah, every single piece of the Devil's poetry works perfectly in that cadence,
but it
which says a lot.
Also seems like it was written by a fourth grader or a dad making fun of a fourth grader.
So yeah, we've been at it for quite a long time. I think it's probably a good time to close up the show here. Pardon me. Poncho, you've been an excellent guest, and before we go, I'd like to ask if there's anything you're working on or that you have going on that you'd like to plug.
Well, I'm working on my third book. How you doing there?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm gonna edit that out, so don't worry. But
okay.
Yeah.
I'm working on my third book of my trilogy of the romantic in all lowercase with scare quotes around it, the realist, properly capitalized with a period at the end, and my third book being the revolutionary in all capital letters italicized with an exclamation point at the end. And I'm also working on a movie tentatively called just Detective Story, which I'm making because it won't require much money to make. And I am also pretty consistently tweeting in character as a Pomeranian named Velveeta Bloodfucker who was running for president in 2012 with his running mate Pepito 40 Blunts, the smoking chihuahua who cares, with the username @PremiumPomPom.
I know there was a time, at least, when you were performing around town quite a bit, doing readings and stand-up and stuff, and I was just curious if there's anything like that going on in the near future people might be able to check you out.
Not currently, unfortunately. I mean, I may get back into it, and then I will try to get back on this podcast solely to advocate myself.
Okay, well, I think you've done a grand job so far.
Thank you, I had a lot of fun.
Also, make sure to follow us on Twitter at IDEOTVpod. Same thing on Facebook, facebook.com/IDEOTVpod. These are places where you can go and keep up to date with things that are going on. We're also going to post a lot of pictures from the picture section of this book because there's some hilarious shit in there. Also, last bit of housekeeping here. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe, rate on iTunes, write a good review, let everyone know how much you enjoy it. Let's try to get the word out. We will see you next week on I Don't Even Own a Television. Thank you very much, and keep reading crap.
Hail Satan!